Glad you asked. The 4B movement is a movement in South Korea right now where the misogyny and sexism is so bad that South Korean women have decided to opt out of dealing with men entirely. That is not a joke. That is not an exaggeration. They are not dating men. They are not marrying men. They are not having children with men. They're not even sleeping with men anymore. And it's called the 4B movement because the Korean words for those four things all start with the letter B. This kind of first started happening around 2016 when Kim Ji-young, born 1982, a novel came out. And it is a fictional book about a Korean every woman and all of the misogyny and sexism that she's experienced from literally being a child all the way to her being an adult, suffering with postpartum depression after having her child. Now, this book became a runaway bestseller among South Korean women because they were like, she's just like me for real. And that's kind of when it started cooking, right? Now, the movement officially got its name in 2019, and it's just been going ever since. It's so successful, in fact, that now South Korea has one of the lowest birth rates in the world. The number of deaths in South Korea outnumber the number of births in South Korea. And it's hilarious because all the men and the government are like, oh my God, what do we do? They don't want to like talk to us. They don't want to date us. What do we do? Like everything's in shambles. We don't know what to do. When South Korean women have been very clear from day one, they're like, hey, either you get your act together or we are literally eliminating all of this. Like, we are shutting it down. So that's the 4B movement and why I'm so obsessed with it and why I think we should have the 4B movement everywhere.
The latest fertility data is ringing alarm bells in Seoul. The population is shrinking and all the money and policy solutions are not changing the tide. Women in South Korea remain on strike. They say they're protesting because the society views them as baby-making machines. It's become a movement of sorts. A movement called the 4 no's. What are the 4 no's? No to dating, no to sex, no to marriage, and no to childbearing. That's what the women of South Korea say. Look at the survey from 2022. It shows 65% of Korean women do not want children. The question is why, and the reasons are many, starting with money. The cost of raising children is high. In fact, South Korea is said to be the most expensive country to raise a child because housing is unaffordable. There are long working hours and bleak job prospects. So finances play a big role, but there's also a major cultural factor. And society's impossible expectations from a mother. She's expected to do it all. And this, by the way, is not limited to South Korea. Across the world, so many women have had enough and they're opting out. Not from their jobs, but from motherhood. South Korea's birth rate has been dropping since 2015. In 2020, it recorded more deaths than births for the first time. This is called a population death cross, and the fallout can be serious. Schools are facing a shortage of students. The military is relaxing rules for enrollment. The workforce is shrinking and the pension of retirees is at risk. Experts say South Korea needs urgent course correction, else it would face a major labor shortage within a decade.
What a lot of people do in quiet quitting is they recognize that additional effort is not rewarded. So what used to happen is, okay, like there are 4 employees, and if you work hard, you will get promoted. And so then the default became everyone is working hard, but you still only get one person who's promoted. And so over time, what that sort of means is there's this interesting pressure where it creates like almost like a game theory kind of situation where I have to work harder than all of my colleagues in order to get promoted. But the harder my colleagues work, the harder I have to work to outpace them. So this system was happening. And then employers realized everyone is working way harder than they are paid for. Then what started happening is I think employees started taking this for granted. So now we started getting things like unpaid internships or really lowball salaries. And employers started to think like, oh, we can just lowball the fuck out of people because this is now the standard.
Quiet quitting is referring to a situation where employees are making a choice to not necessarily go above and beyond what they're being asked to do. It doesn't mean that they're not doing their job, they're just not going above and beyond.
With young workers refusing to go the extra mile.
They're embracing a trend they're calling quiet quitting. They stay on the job, they continue to get paid, but they're only willing to do the bare minimum.
So you look at these videos on TikTok and YouTube of people who are celebrating their lack of enthusiasm for their job. They're just going to mail it in. They're just going to do exactly what they're supposed to do and not go above and beyond the descriptions of the job. Some of these videos are people who are like literally turning off the phone at 5 p.m., the work phone at 5 p.m., not answering email after 5 p.m., not doing anything above and beyond the 9 to 5 of the job, and saying that's good because I don't need to work for the man, you know, and not have any kind of a balance on my.
A lot of people have a lot to say about Korean feminism these days and the way they completely want to keep men out of their lives, like the 4B movement, where they just swear off having children with men, you know, or getting married, sleeping with men, or even just dating. Just to let people know, it's called a 4B movement because it's 4 no's. The word P means no in Korean, so P something means no this. And combined with the fertility crisis in Korea, this has become a very sensitive issue, but none of this is very shocking to me, that a lot of Korean women want to swear off men, because I've seen how bad Korean patriarchy can be. And this is very well represented in Korean literature, most famously in Kim Ji-young, born 1992. But what really told me the extent of how severe Korean patriarchy used to be was Please Look After Mom by Shin Kyung-soo. Aside from the main plot, which is about a family's struggle to search for their lost mother, the book describes the married life of the mother and the father, and it's set only, 2 generations away from my generation. And the patriarch in this portrayal doesn't work all that much, if at all. All he really is that he's the head of the family. She works, takes care of the kids, takes care of the home, while her husband does nothing and goes out to sleep with other women, drink with his friends, and do whatever he wants. And at the end of the day, he can come back to the nest whenever he wants with no consequences of any kind. And that was apparently quite common in Korea before, where men don't do anything but just for existing, they were valued. They prefer male children to female children. Like, if women weren't able to produce male children, they were collectively punished by the rest of the family. Going back to Kim Ji-young, born 1982, the main character's little sister is aborted because she was a girl, and that happened very widely in the 80s and the 90s. People just aborted girls because they wanted boys. I mean, in the 60s, when medical technology wasn't, widely available and developed enough, they just throw infant girls away, very akin to taking out the trash. That happened quite often in those times. And to me, people saying how radical Korean feminism has become don't realize that this is a proportional response to how bad it was for women, how they were just viewed as mere tools in Korean society before, how they were expendable outside of making babies, making sons more specifically.
1,384,047 women in their 30s and 40s were single as of 2015, and that figure is more than twice that of 10 years ago. The drastic jump largely resulted from women's increased labor force participation. Also, Korea remains a patriarchal society.
Korean women are so done with Korean men that they're literally just deciding to die out. Y'all heard of the 4B movement? I'm a big fan. Korean women literally just gave up on their men. They're like, they're fucking assholes, they're not gonna change, so we're all gonna go extinct. Which they literally are, by the way. Korea has like the lowest birth rates in the world. It's like really bad. But I just think that's so fucking funny. That's also very Korean. Like, Korean as an ethnicity is about to go away, and Korean women are literally just like,